plugged on. It's Keith.
Hi.
Tyler. It's me. We're here with probably the biggest album of 2016, the biggest album in a long fucking time.
Yeah.
I'd say. Metallica with Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This is their 10th album, believe it or not. They've only put out 10 albums.
That's because they take like at least 5 years to put out an album.
I know. So yeah, we got new Metallica music. Followed the 2008's Death Magnetic. So it's been a long ass time.
8 years. Jesus.
Still remember the day that came out. That was exciting. But I'd say this one's more exciting. This is a double album. So 6 songs each side.
Which I thought was just weird because it's only like over 100 minutes. Oh, not 100. It's only like an hour long. Mm-hmm. A little over an hour. I'm like, you could have put that on. Okay, maybe they had too much material, but whatever. I just found that weird. Just, you know what I mean? Yeah. I figured it was a double album. It'd be like, 2 hours long or whatever. But
now, I listened to Death Magnetic again this week just because it's been a really long time. That is a good album. But I would say, and I would think you're in agreement with it too, this album is way better than Death Magnetic.
I would agree.
And also, this is probably the best Metallica album in 25 years. To me, this is hands down the best Metallica album since the Black Album.
Okay, when you put it that way, yes, I would agree. I was trying to think what was 25 years ago. I couldn't do the math in my head. I was like, okay, Black Album. Okay, yeah, I would agree to that statement too. It's not that Death Magnetic's bad. It's a weird album. It really is in a lot of ways. The mix is kind of weird, and it's like, I don't know. It's got
some good songs on it. Some very, I would say, underrated Metallica songs. I think it fizzles out a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
But it's still a solid album. It's Metallica returning to who they were and kind of supposed to be in a way. Mm-hmm. Their roots. After Saint Anger. That's kind of what they had to do. This is taking it to another level. What'd you think of this album?
I generally love this album. There's like a spot in the middle where it kind of starts to get weird and blend together to me a little bit. But for the most part, like, I really like a lot of the songs on this album. Like, the first 4 songs on this album are probably collectively, like, the best, like, opening 4 songs on an album that, like, I think of, like, this year. Like, just the first part is just boom, and it hits you. Awesome. Because, like, it has, of course, the title track, and then Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, and then it has Now That We're Dead, which is a fucking groovy song. Yeah. That's definitely the grooviest song in the album. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one I like, if I like Moth into Flame better or this one, but... like, that's a pretty close thing. And then Spit Out the Bone, which those 5 songs are, like, the only songs I would really go as far to say is they're, like, thrash in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of the other songs are a little bit more... I
wouldn't call it Now That We're Dead thrash, but those 4 songs are a lot more energetic. Maybe that's the better terminology. Energetic, like, again, like, old school. Whereas I kind of find all, like, the other songs from, like, examples being like Dream No More and like Murder One and like Am I Savage to be like, they're kind of familiar yet at the same time they're different from Metallica. It's like in Am I Savage, I believe is the song. There's like weird vocal harmonies that James does. I'm like, oh, that's different. And like the fucking main riff to Dream No More, I like that. That's another like just groovy thing. And I noticed that Murder One kind of has a very similar kind of riff to it. But it just, especially because my biggest criticism of their last album was the mix and how just overpoweringly loud Death Magnetic is. It's just a loud album, whereas this is a lot more tighter sounding. So that it's it just sounds better. You don't have to like back whatever, get your headphones down or whatever if you're listening to it, and you won't in fear of getting your ears blown out. But like everything's awesome. There's so many riffs on this album. I mean, we've talked about a couple of them. Like again, like a lot of the main riffs at like Moth into Flame, Now That We're Dead, Atlas Rise, Spit Out the Bone. Those are like
awesome Metallica riffs. Like, I mean, some of the best Metallica riffs that they've written, in 20 years. Vocally, I think James sounds awesome on this album because it's a little bit more. He's more so, I think, embracing where his voice is now, because he can't do what he used to do, like again in the 80s and in the early 90s. He can't sing like that anymore. So there's a little bit more melody, and I think like singing wise, like legitimately singing wise, he sounds better than he really has been. The drums fit. Like again, there's the whole thing with Lars can't drum anymore, but they managed with all the songs. It all works. Like it fits perfectly to the point where it's one of those drum performances where you don't really notice it as much because it just fits and it kind of brings everything together, And I think that's kind of what Metallica is. Metallica's always been a band for me where it's not like, where really there's not like, oh, the drums on this song is really good. It's like, this song is really good and it's everything about the song fitting together is really good. And I feel that way with this album. One of my favorite solos from this album is from Now That We're Dead. I really like the solo in that song. But and Kirk Hammett solos, they're Kirk Hammett solos. He's a brilliant soloist. He's hasn't lost his edge, I don't think. It's interesting to note though, which is like a little side note about this album, that he didn't really have any writing credits on this album because like he lost his phone in an airport. So if you look at like the written by and like stuff in the album, he's not really listed on anything, which is, it's the first album since their first album that's the case, because he like just joined the band at that point. But everything fits together. Like, I definitely agree with what Tyler said. This is the best Metallica album since the Black Album, since they kind of started to go astray a little bit. This is their best effort, and I really like this album. This album is definitely going to be in like definitely my top 10, maybe even my top 5 for the year. So,
yeah, this album is it's a monster. It really is. I almost struggle to put it into words sometimes because it is kind of strange to be this excited about Metallica, because they are putting out literally, arguably, maybe some of the best material they've ever put out. It's a weird feeling, I'm not saying this is no Master of Puppets or anything like that, but seriously, Moth and the Flame, Atlas Rise, I love these songs. They're awesome. And I just think this is such a strong effort from start to finish. I do think the first half is stronger than the second half, for sure. And I think when you get to kind of Man Unkind is where it dips a little bit, but it's still not bad at all. It's still actually pretty solid. I think Man Unkind is probably the only song I don't like on here. It's got a really cool main riff, but beyond that, I just don't know. It's too chopped up in its tempo, and Lars Ulrich's drumming there just makes me scratch my head. And that's no comment of me saying he's a terrible drummer, because I think he actually does an excellent job on this album, fucking from start to finish almost all the time. He still has that feeling to him where it's like, oh, that's a random ass cymbal crash. I never thought that was going to happen. Those type of goofy things, or drum fills in the middle of a riff, yet he makes it work. Like Atlas Rise is one that comes to mind. It's just the way I felt like Man Unkind never fully got going the way that I wanted to, and his drum beats are just fucking strange throughout the whole thing. Other than that, Lars Ulrich kills it on this album, I think. James Hetfield sounds phenomenal. I think he sounds better on this album than he sounded on Death Magnetic. Look, he's never going to ever sound like he did like Justice. And Justice for All is the album to me where his voice was just completely golden. And he's not going to do that again. That's fine. But I think this is one of his best performances in a long time. There's no notes where you kind of go, oh, he maybe tried a little too hard there. no sane anger weirdness going on, or there was a couple times on Death Magnetic where I was like, I'm not sure, but otherwise I think he sounds really good. Like, one standout track I think vocally for him is Halo on Fire. That song is awesome in terms of vocals. Another thing that stands out to me about this album is that there's no ballad on this album. It's just fucking riffs all the time, just crunchy rips that are either fast as shit or just really groovy or just heavy all the time, and they don't really stop that from start to finish, and it's cool. It's interesting to see Metallica breaking out from that, not being like, oh well, we gotta write the Unforgiven 4 because it just has to happen. It's a good album. I would honestly say, to me, and this is no me saying he's a shitty guitar player, because he's one of the best guitar players to ever play in a metal band. But Kirk Hammett does not stand out here solo-wise at all on this album to me. None of these solos will I've listened to this album like 4 times, and I can't recall how any of them usually go. When you listen to Death Magnetic, you can recall some of his solos, and then obviously, his past works are just perfection. They're fine solos, but they're not like, oh, that solo's going to get stuck in my head all the time, and that's fine. They don't have to fucking stand out all the time. You listen to some of these songs and they just kind of make you smile. Like, Now That We're Dead is one of the hottest, sexiest songs I've heard all year. Definitely. That is just a complete riff fest through and through. It is an excellent, excellent song. Dream No More and Am I Savage are 2 of the heaviest songs Metallica's ever written. Spit Out the Bone, that, when it busts in the second time with that riff, it's just a complete standout. And then you get to a super upbeat verse, and James Hetfield just sounds fucking awesome. His harmonized vocals on this album are top notch. And I agree with you, this is definitely a better produced album than Death Magnetic. I still think it's, it's loud, but it's just a little bit more contained.
It's not abrasive.
Yeah, like the bass stands out a lot more to me. The drums aren't way overpowering, but they're there, and they kind of get up in your face. And the guitars, their guitar tone on this album is just phenomenal. It's just just more contained and better put together. It all works way better. Yeah. This album is awesome. And to wait 8 years and to get this is just awesome. And it makes me, and even Kirk Hammett said himself, he said, I hope it's not 8 years in between albums next time. And it just makes me want more Metallica. And after Death Magnetic, I didn't really feel that.
Yeah,
I was like, this is good. I'm going to jam these songs, but I didn't really go, fuck, I want another album next year. But with this, I'm like, dude, give me everything. It's awesome.
Give me like the other songs that you tried to write for this album.
Yeah,
just put them all on.
Yeah,
make it 5 discs instead of 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you do get the special edition, you get the fattest CD case I've ever had in my life. But you get third disc that has their cover of Iron Maiden's "Remember Tomorrow," which is awesome. You get Lords of Summer.
Lords of Summer has
you get a medley tracks. And a ton of live tracks. So you get like Hardwired live the first time they played it when Metallica opened up.
Jimmy Fallon?
No. Minnesota Vikings new stadium.
Ah, okay.
When Metallica had the first performance there ever.
Okay.
Or whatever, and they played it there, so it's pretty neat. I love this. I love this album. Hardwired is a song, and we say this a lot. I think Hardwired is better surrounded by other songs.
Yes.
I know it opens the album up, but it's an awesome opening to this album that just is a punch to the fucking nuts. And then the way it moves into Atlas Rise is just awesome. On its own, before this album came out, I was like, Hardwired's okay, but Atlas Rise and Moth into Flame just completely blow it out of the fucking water. And I was thinking, what if Hardwired's the worst song on the album? I don't think it is. I think it's more middle of the road, but it's still good. And that just says how strong this album is. I was going to say one more thing. Oh. Is it me, too, or does Atlas Rise seriously sound like something that could have been on Kill 'Em All? At least, the main opening riffs.
Yes.
Straight up.
Just like, because it's like weird, awesome. The weird chords that they use. I'm like, that's...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a good song.
That's a good song.
What is your favorite song on here?
Like I said, it's either Moth into Flame or Now That We're Dead.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not gonna be wishy-washy. I'm gonna say now that we're dead. I'm sticking it.
I'm gonna go with Moth into Flame. I just love that main riff, and I love the pre-chorus. I love the chorus. It's awesome. But man, Now That We're Dead, that's a headbanger, man.
I've had, literally the entire time we're doing this. If you see me bobbing back and forth, I have that main riff stuck in my head. That's why I'm bobbing like this back and forth all the time.
It's so good.
Fuck.
Any other thoughts?
Not really. Like this, like I said, yeah, like we've been saying all in all, this is like, in a way, kind of a surprise. Again, like I knew this album would be good. I didn't know if I knew this album was gonna be this good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it just kind of like, I knew it was like Metallica. I'm not sure, besides that one little bump in the road called Saint Anger, I'm not sure if Metallica can put out a bad album.
Yeah, and I'm like I wouldn't even say Load or Reload are bad albums.
They're different.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not my kind of thing.
They're not terrible. Saint Anger is, I would say, like the worst metal album ever recorded. But
yeah,
that's just
I put it up there.
This album, doesn't give me an unnamed feeling that makes my mind.
You called this album.
frantic.
You called this album a monster before, so you're saying it's some kind of monster.
Oh, yeah.
You started. I stopped myself from making that joke, and then you started
it. My feelings on this album just make my mind go frantic. I could just keep going.
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Iron Maiden's album last year, The Book of Souls, is one of the best albums they ever recorded. I was like, it's going to be an Iron Maiden album, it's going to be good, but fucking blew everybody's expectations out of the water. I would say the same thing with this album. So, yeah. Any last thoughts?
No.
Scores?
I give it a 9.25. That's what I'll give it. Very good album.
9 out of 10 for me as well. I love this album. I don't think there's very many bumps in the road for this album. It's rad. Check it out. Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct.